Hello and welcome to NBL Overtime, all thanks to basketball.com.au. Now, it's with heavy hearts that we begin this program this evening because Kevin Braswell, of course, ex-New Zealand Breakers coach, a legend to the wider basketball community, unfortunately passed away overnight in Japan, and our thoughts go out to everyone who knew Kevin, the family, and of course, as I said, the wider basketball community. Heartbreaking stuff. Hug those that are close to you. But Damon Lowry, Peter Hooley, as we welcome in, of course, terrible news coming out for the basketball world, but we've got playoffs to play, and let's jump right into it. We'll see where we've come from to get right here because it feels like a long time. We had the playing games, and then we had a little bit of a break, the FIBA break, which I'll tell you what, if I ever run into this FIBA break in a dark alley, it ain't coming out the other side because I'm taking care of it. I cannot stand the FIBA break, but we've got to have it according to the powers that be. But the final series, it is all set in motion, and finally, we can start playing for the real money.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, we sat here last week knowing we're going into the FIBA break, and you can't touch on the semi-finals too much because they're so long away. And I mean, we'll break down the both finals matchups in some depth as the show goes on. But man, it's finally good to know that we're just 48 hours away from some basketball. I mean, the Boomers played, the emerging Boomers. I'm not sure what we're calling them.
On that one, Damon, I see you as a traditionalist in a lot of aspects. The team that went out for the Boomers, and congratulations to everyone that was selected. It was you got to be in it to win it. But what do we call that team?
First of all, the FIBA break, I'm all for it.
Oh, dear God.
I just want to say that.
You're a sympathizer?
You know why? Because it gives you a chance to let the hype build. You got to like people say it kills momentum. I think it enhances the drama. You just waiting each and every day, getting a little bit close. Like Christmas, you get excited for it. So anyway, now I said what I said. Now
this is like finding out there's a loyalist in the midst of the IRA.
Too late. Say what I said.
Oh, God.
Now, what are we going to call this team? The basketball team.
Oh, God.
After that long runway, you're going to
gave it that massive
No, that's the straight. That is the
emerging Boomers.
Emerging, but whatever. The young dudes, the what's the smart? The Joeys? Can we call them that? What's a baby boomer?
Maybe
it's more of it's the fact that, especially when you're qualifying for the Asia Cup, where you've already won the last couple, you probably shouldn't have to qualify in the grand scheme of things anyway.
It all needs to go.
But if you don't have to play any more games, then guys who's never got to play for Australia, they never get the game. No. Let's not take anything away from Jacob Furphy, Luke Fennell, Ben Gritsky. Nope, play every one of them games, and I went down there and supported them too. I was courtside in Gippsland at the Terrelgan Entertainment Center, cheering them dudes on, and they narrowly escaped with a 50-point win.
No wonder he doesn't mind the FIBA break. He didn't even take a week off. You just kept rolling with the B-ball, continuing down there in Terrelgan. But Melbourne versus Perth is going to be the first semi-final on Thursday night. And I'll tell you what, tune in from 7 p.m. Game starts at 7:30 because the Friday night pre-game has gotten the call-up. It is going. We are going all the way through the final series. Myself, Peter Hooley, and Leonard Copeland. No Damon Lowry for this one.
He'll be on
the whole way through. He's going to be on the call doing a fantastic job. But let's have a look at the stats, the key stats between these two teams, because if you're a United fan, you're going into this one with a whole lot of confidence.
The stat that doesn't stand out for that, and we don't have it on there because it goes so far back, is that we mentioned it last week. Melbourne's won 17 of the last 22 against Perth. And I know Perth in the media this week came out and said that they're not looking into that. And you can't go back and have any sort of those seeds in your mind when you're going, not even on your home court either. You've got to go and win one away. But even that matchup on paper, all the stats can mean one thing. The superstars can mean everything. But between Perth and Melbourne, there's a rivalry that's been brewing in the last decade, and it's built on success. The last two times these teams played each other in the postseason were championship series. Melbourne swept them in 21, and Perth won Game 4 back in 2019 on John Cain Arena. So it's 1-1 in the postseason in that regard, and I'm looking forward to seeing what transpires.
The Craig Hutchison Cup. He's been an owner in both teams. I feel like he's been a vocal owner in both teams. We should almost give this one the Craig Hutchison
I think,
Cup
mate, this is what the show's for. You can 100% lead that and see who gets behind it.
What jumps out in the vision for you to being the most important thing going to get a win in there?
Well, if I look at the last time they played, and it was over in Perth, things that stand out. Obviously, the Bryce Cotton-Shaley matchup, but this is what they talk about with Shaley, the best defensive player in the league. His ability to skinny up, they call it, and not get screened, to stay attached on the hip. Everyone's going to help out, but it's almost like, okay, we're going to make someone else beat you. Little flare screen here coming for Bryce Cotton. Shaley wants to send that baseline. You know what? I just don't want Bryce. He looks at the ball whilst basically sitting on Bryce Cotton's lap. So that's one side. But the other side is Jack White, which we'll talk about. Jack White was so aggressive in this game. This is off a rebound, and just look at him put his head down. He says, Manzu says, I'm going straight at him. We don't see that aggression from Jack White enough. And it's not just in transition, it's also stepping into a 3 with no hesitation. Chris Goulding draws a crowd like he does, zero hesitation, and there's something about Jack White's footwork. When it's left-right and he rises up, he knocks it down. And there's a big key stat.
Oh, very telling, Damon.
Now, one thing about all these stats, in the regular season, don't care. Everybody is shooting 0% from the field, head-to-head, what happened in the regular season. None of that matters, man, because it's the postseason now. We are finally into the Final Four, the playoffs, the proper playoffs, where reputations are made and destroyed. Now it's all about how do you shoot now when everything is on the line. So I'm not even going to read into any of that. So, yes, Melbourne United swept them in the regular season. So what? Doesn't matter. They might have some confidence knowing they can go there and play well. Yeah, that's cool. But it all has to happen right now starting on Thursday night. They get to game 1, and it is critical they get game 1. The way this series goes, home, away, home, you cannot afford to drop that first one.
And a couple of postseason games we've seen already, we've seen contrasting whistles in terms of, normally we expect the postseason, we see the whistle goes away, the physicality ramps up. Now, you talk about physicality ramping up. We know how aggressive as an defender, not just Shea Ely, but Matthew Dellavedova, Flynn Cameron can be. But also from the Perth Wildcats, Christian Doolittle does his best work when he can use his size and throw it around against the likes of a Jack White. So I want to see that. I want to see the best of the best just going at it. And obviously if it crosses the line, you have to call a foul. But these are the times when nothing else matters. You're going to go out there. It is a complete battle for 2 or 3 games, and only one team's going to be left fighting for a championship.
The refs always let it, as you said, they let it go a little bit more in the playoffs. Does that play into the hands of Shea Ely? Because for me, regular season or not, that's a telling stat. There is no one in the league who can do a better job on Bryce Cotton. And when I say a better job, it still is, for the most part, up to him. But I do think Shea Ely does a very, very good job of guarding Bryce Cotton. If I'm a Perth fan, judging by how reliant they have been on him during the year, I'm going into this game pretty concerned.
I don't think Shea's one of those kind of defenders like a bull quad that does a lot of holding and grabbing and making sure. That's a different kind of physicality. Shea is just always there. He plays with his chest, arms out, fighting through things, whereas as opposed to the holding and the grabbing that we see a lot of. And we can't restrict the offensive movement. We don't want any ticky-tacky soft calls. We got to protect the shooters. But as far as just fighting through things, I hate to see those excuse me screens getting called for illegal screens. So we'll see. We might talk about the refs a little bit later on, but we're all here for some real proper man-on-man basketball.
And that's what we're going to see when we look next week at what happened in the series, even if there's a game 3 that we've got to preview all of that. It's one thing, you mentioned Shea Ely, he's not a holder grabber. He's a physical with his body, with his hands out. We saw it in those clips. He fights through screens and there's contact there. And the Perth Wildcats know that. So the other side is you then need to allow Almanza, Pinder, Doolittle to set good, hard legal screens to try and shake him off so Bryce Cotton can get free. That's the two sides of it, and that's what we want to see, the best of the best battling it out. I love the Ely versus Cotton matchup. This is what you've got, the greatest offensive scorer we have in the game today versus the best defender in the game. This is exactly what finals basketball is all about.
In a head-to-head matchup, that's going to be the best. But overall, in this one, the Chris Goulding versus Bryce Cotton matchup, they're going to be the offensive powerhouses either side. And if either of these guys fires more than the other, you get the feeling that's the direction the series is going to go.
I feel like Chris has to obviously score. The better Chris scores, the better Melbourne United play. When Chris is quiet, now you got to rely on Jack White, who isn't always consistent with his scoring. Shea Ely's going to, he's a 10 to 12, even 15 point a game kind of a guy. But it's up to Chris and it's up to Dean Vickerman. Now, if this game, Dean probably won't change how he plays, Chris, 25 to 26 minutes a game. But I feel like now that you only got a few games left, you got to play Chris 30-plus minutes.
Just to speak about how good Bryce Cotton has been, Chris Goulding has had a remarkable year. And look at the differences between these numbers. Chris Goulding is one of the top-tier talents this league has ever seen. And look at the difference in the percentages, the numbers. It is unbelievable when you put Bryce Cotton next to anyone. Pete, continue before I sidetrack you.
I mean, that's the point of when we talked about having unanimous being available for an MVP. That's what Bryce Cotton just did this season. The regular season, he was fantastic. We don't see a 28.5 points per game regular season in the 40-minute era. We just don't. But these are the two players left in the entire postseason, including the other series, which we'll touch on later on, that can put games to bed in the matter of 2 to 3 minutes. It can be at any point. If Chris Goulding comes out, he's done it time and time again, hits 4-5 threes in quick succession in the first quarter, Perth are chasing their tail. If Bryce Cotton, as Shea Ely's getting the better half of Bryce Cotton for the first half, even in the first 3 quarters, and he comes out in the fourth quarter and has a 3 to 4 minute spurt that he's capable of, then Perth will run away with the win. Those are two true game breakers that at any point, so for Perth and Melbourne, they both have to make sure you lock in because it doesn't matter. You can do the best job possible for 95% of the game against both of these respective superstars. If you don't close it out, they'll end your season.
It's not just the backcourt that we're talking here, the front court's here for Jack White and Doolittle. It's got me thinking, before we talk about the matchup between the two, because it is going to be a potentially game deciding, Doolittle and Keanu Pinder, right now, they're on the same level in terms of play.
Keanu Pinder, right now, is playing the best basketball probably of his career. Now, we've seen him obviously put up some nice numbers when he was playing for Cairns, but right now, the confidence that he's playing with is out of control right now. Now, if he can show up like that, they're going to be tough because they have depth at that position. Obviously, Christian Doolittle, but Jack White, he's got to rely on Shea Illy, Matthew Dellavedova, finding him in the open court, getting him in transition, getting him downhills. We look at his numbers. That is a rock-solid 14-9 a game, as well as Christian about 14-8. But if Jack doesn't get involved early, he can go to sleep on you. And then you know he's not going to play 32-plus minutes a game. He's not going to be out there long enough to get into a rhythm because Kyle Bowen's going to come in for him. Whereas you feel like with Christian Doolittle and with Keanu Pinder, you're going to get a heavy dose of those guys early. So they got to get Jack off to a great start.
Jack White was the difference in the last time they met over at ROC Arena. The aggression that he played with, we don't see that. Well, we haven't seen that this season consistently enough. I'm sure that Dean Vickman would say the same. But if he's in that mindset, Christian Doolittle, since he came back from the groin injury especially, he's just looked extra aggressive offensively, and it takes pressure off the likes of Bryce Cotton and everyone else. I do think the Perth is just peaking at the right time. Pinder, you mentioned, Doolittle, Dylan Windler, who I think is the most complementary piece to this lineup. Ty Webster's looked great. Everyone seems to be going in the right direction. Perth played more recently as well than Melbourne United, so it's going to be a cracking series.
Every great series, whether it be final series, semi-final series, whatever it is, there is an X-Factor player who steps up and gets the job done. Who is going to be the X-Factor across this series for either team?
I feel like Ty Webster for Perth Wildcats. Now, Ty obviously plays with all the confidence in the world. He's that defender, which we all probably agree is their best on-ball defender, right? But he also brings more to the game now. Like, he can push the ball in transition, get on the rim, and he can make that occasional three-ball, mid-range jumper. But I feel like he's an emotional barometer. As Ty kind of goes, I feel like they go. Because the rest of their players are kind of mild-mannered, battle-hardened dudes like Christian Doolittle, Bryce Cotton, Keanu Pinder. But Ty Webster is that one I think really stirs the pot.
People have underestimated how good Ty Webster and how important he is throughout this year. And I still don't think he's played up to his capability. So if he can step up, it's a whole different ballgame because he takes a lot of that pressure off Bryce.
Had some injuries. Injuries kind of derailed his season a little bit. He kind of came back, got off to a little bit of a slow start. But also with his minutes played, maybe 15, depending on how he's going, 15 to 25, because Johnny also is playing Elijah Pepper more. Ben Henschel has a bigger role. But Ty knows who he is, and he's going to come out ready to go.
Ty's going to be important because you mentioned Pepper, Henschel. They're still incredibly young. Ty's been there, he's done that, especially when you don't have home court advantage. In game one, if they come out with a lull, if they're flat, you know he's an energy guy. Whatever he does, he's diving on loose balls, so he's going to be key. Keanu Pinder's the one for me from a Perth Wildcats perspective. If we've seen times when he plays 12 minutes a game. We've seen times when he puts up the stat line he did the other day, 35, double-double. Those opportunities when he gets in that aggressive mindset, and he's going to have to attack Rob Lowe or Marcus Lee different because of the way that they defend. So he's going to have to figure those two things out. But he's the difference for me from a Wildcats perspective. And Melbourne, it's weird to say he's an X factor, but it's Jack White. It is. He's the X factor because we've seen when he's not aggressive and he's a bit more passive and he's just out there and he'll still get 10, 11, 12 boards. But offensively, ticking the scoreboard over, putting pressure on the rim, drawing fouls, it takes pressure off Golding, Ian Clark, even Delhi to a degree. If he doesn't do that, I don't think that Melbourne get over the line. It's crucial that he is ultra-aggressive for Melbourne.
I get what you're saying, so I will not pounce too hard. But Jack White is too good of a player to be determined as an X-factor for Melbourne United. Your X-factor, maybe it's a Cole Bowen coming in and catapulting a couple of threes.
I look at the Trebuchet. An X-factor is someone who, if we talk about if they come in and make that impact, that they are going to be able to win the series by turning it on. I think that is Jack White.
In that same theory,
I agree
you could
with
say
you.
Bryce Cotton's an X-factor.
No.
In that same breath.
Bryce is averaging 28 points a game. So
What if he averages 40?
Are you happy if Jack White averages 14 for the series? Are you happy with that?
Depending on the flow of the offense, I'd probably say no. To win this series, I would say no.
Which means he needs to be an X factor. Come on, Pete. He needs to be an X factor.
That
There's
doesn't make no sense.
No, but let me make
If Bryce Cotton averages 4 points across the series and then in the final game he goes up for 40, I'm still not going to say he's the X factor.
Now, sit back and just relax for a mile, and let me just try to explain
For a
this to you.
mile?
You talk to me,
A mile.
man. You want to talk?
Pete,
Let's talk.
We understand, right? If Jack White exceeds his average of 14, he now becomes the X factor because right now Melbourne United do not score a whole lot of points. If Jack White averages 25 for this series, there is no denying that he is the X factor. Now, how he gets his points is what I'm looking at. Keanu Pennant can get his points, just give him the ball. He'll just go at you so violently. Jack White, that's not how he's going to get his points. They have got to get out in transition. They got to run those plays where he gets some back picks, a couple easy lobs to feel good about himself. Then he can start stepping out, maybe making some 3 balls.
We should be friends, man. I like you.
If Jack White averages 25 points and Melbourne United win this series, he will not be an X factor. He will be a great player that is playing up to my lofty expectations. Your predictions across the series overall?
I tell you what, because I very rarely get predictions correct, I've been on Perth winning it all since the preseason, so I have to stay on this train. They're going to have to rewrite history to do it, but I also think they're peaking at the right time. So I think it's going to go to 3, and if I want to get one prediction right in my life, I've got to stick with it. I think the Wildcats will get it.
I respect that, man. You're going against your team, your championship team. So you're saying Perth in 3 against Melbourne United.
Did I stutter?
No, I don't think
just
you did.
making sure that we got this.
I said from the very
Just
beginning,
making sure.
and the fact that I've doubled down in recent weeks
respect
talking
it.
about how I've gone back to say it, if I flipped now, he would call me out and say, didn't you just say Perth? We're going to win back the last 3 weeks, so I've got to stick with it.
Damon,
Which
where are you
is-
sitting?
I got Perth in 3 as well. I just feel like they're better than last year. I feel like they got more offensive guys that I can trust, and I'm going to go with that.
I love it. I hope all teams have fun, the referees have a great call, and the fans really enjoy it from start to finish. It's time for an 8-No Cupcake League. Oh, you angry at it? I'm the host. I don't make predictions. I would never put my neck out like that. But I'll tell you what, you do quite a lot of different media things. You know, I see you on Triple M, a few other different things that you jump on. Now, podcasting, a lot of that stuff's on TV. So you know the camera's on you. So you're wary of the camera being on you. When you do a podcast, sometimes you can be lulled into your more natural stances. And have a look at this one you did with the NBA. I just thought this is a real... That's a dude who doesn't look like he's getting filmed. What on earth is going on with them goddamn pigeon feet? The arms between the legs.
I was cold, man. I was cold. I was cold.
Yeah.
I was cold in there. I'm just relaxed, man. I just like to talk
You
some
certainly look
hoops.
relaxed.
I just like to talk some hoops. You said that to me straight away too. And
Yeah.
again, I appreciate. You know what? When it comes down to it, I appreciate the view.
There we go. Thank you.
Now you mentioned Damon. Since there wasn't any games to talk about cupcakes, but you mentioned that you enjoyed the week off. And you said that it built hype. And I'm like, you know what, I agree, but I tried so hard to have a conversation with you, and I guess when we're not friends, I tried to call you, and you didn't answer, and this is what I got.
Sorry, you reached Damon, 3x3 Olympic head coach of the Kangaroos. I can't take your call right now because I'm in Paris, France at the Olympics, and I'm actually, as we speak, I'm at the Rugby Sevens. Leave a message and I'll call you back after the Olympics.
That is, you are something. You're not still at the Olympics, my man.
You in Paris, France during World War II? When was that recorded?
I'm still there. I'm never changing that voicemail ever.
Did you set it up when you were over there, or did you set it up?
I got caught up in the hype, man. I was sitting there at the Rugby Sevens watching France play.
And you thought, you know what, let me set my
I
voice.
said, that's it. I'm never changing. And when you call me, I'm never answering on the first go.
I figured.
I will make you listen to it.
Unbelievable.
Now, look, speaking of being on camera and being in the media world,
no.
now, look, it's not for everybody.
No, it's not.
It's definitely not for everybody, but you got to start somewhere.
True.
Let's look at our man here.
What's up, everyone? Felix von Hoff here, down at the first junior member super clinic for the year. Exclusive and free to all members. So let's go and have a look at what's going on.
Enjoying the day?
Loving it. Just watching the kids enjoying it, it's great.
Is this a little mini Alex Pledger we got going on up here?
What is going on with my hair?
Wait. Oh. Can we get
I
a
wondered
still?
what happened to that footage because I remember it was 35 degrees.
Obviously, you are a seasoned veteran right now. What advice would you have for that dude?
Cut your hair, man.
Should we look at it again? I'm happy to look at it again. What's going on?
What is going on? Now I'm gripping that mic like my life depends on it.
Got to start somewhere.
Hold up, you were in that as
I
well, though,
wasn't there.
Pete.
We
I want to
can't
see a
find
little.
I just let the beard go, yeah.
Oh my God! Did
I'm
they pay you? Were you
the
living under a
opposite.
bridge?
I was trying to get the beard out as much as
I'll
possible.
tell you, you look like the dude would have recorded the voicemail that Damon left.
We were both doing the clinics, to be fair.
No. We'll be back. Josh King coming up next, head coach, Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Welcome back to NBL Overtime, all thanks to basketball.com.au. That's where you go when you need all your basketball info. When your professional team is struggling and they're 0-5, well, you go to this man, Josh King, to save the day, and you have done just that. Welcome in. We call you Overtime's very own because straight off the plane, you hadn't even got through customs yet, and you came straight to the Overtime studio, and what a whirlwind journey it has been since then.
Yeah, no, it seems like it's been 4 years since I've been here. There's been a lot go on, but it's been a great ride, and hopefully we got a lot more to go.
We've got a lot to talk to you about, obviously, the success you've had on the court. But overall, Australia, your family's here. What are you enjoying the most about being here? Take the basketball out of it.
The up and down weather. The weather of Melbourne is...
It was a crazy day the other day.
As much as this has been a wild personal basketball season for me, the weather in Melbourne is a crazy ride. It'll take you through some ups and downs, wind gusts, sun. No, it's been great. I've really enjoyed getting to see the city of Melbourne and seeing other places in Australia, but at some point looking forward to traveling Australia, yeah.
You saved that one. It reminded me of the old, what was the Boston College guy? They said, what was the most amazing thing out of your entire college career? He goes, team dinners.
Yeah,
Which, in your defence, you haven't had enough time to explore the full country yet.
Now, do you like Game of Thrones?
Oh, God.
How are we going?
I tried to...
we couldn't even...
I tried to start it, but I've never really got through a lot of...
Well, I want to apologize to you and your family back home because I've been calling you Josh King by mistake. Sorry, Josh Knight by mistake. See, I'm messing up. No, you got it wrong. No, I did. But before you got here, I said, Josh King, he's going to have to be the Night King to turn this army of the dead around the way they're playing. So every time I'm talking, I'm thinking, yeah, the Night King. But I know it's Josh King. Yeah. So anyway.
I knew you were going to get it off your chest. Going back to, again, one of the best second half responses we've seen in a very, very long time. But that Adelaide game, off the worst first half, we've probably seen from a team that was 0-5 even before you got here. I'm not sure if you watched any of the games where they struggled at the start of the season, but that was the worst 20 minutes we saw. What happened at halftime? What made this change happen, the way they went about it in the second half? It was super impressive.
Yeah, I don't know if anything necessarily happened at halftime. It's just like any other time. I came in there, I talked to the coaches, said what I had to the team. I walked out. Always leave the assistant coaches in there with the team, and I know Sam had some words for them, which was great. But yeah, credit to the players to come out in the second half and put it all together and find a way to get a big win in a do-or-die situation that could prolong our season.
Multiple times I've heard you, and you said it again there when you mentioned, you having the trust to leave Sam McKinnon with the group. And I know I interviewed you at halftime at one point or post-game, and I said, hey, you've turned this thing around. And you made sure to mention Sam McKinnon. Hey, Sam McKinnon jumped on this before I got here. How high do you, because he's had a couple of chances at head coach roles, and I think he's probably the most disrespected interim head coach in history in various roles that he's been. Everyone believes this guy's capable of being a head coach. How much do you value him on this coaching stuff? Because it seems like you certainly do a lot.
Yeah, I value Sam, and I have Sam and Luke, and we got a bunch of different pieces on the coaching staff that help. It's just like nobody's bigger than the team as a player situation. It's the same thing with the coaching staff, and we all have our roles and responsibilities, and nobody's bigger than the team, and that goes for the coaches as well.
We know that you have this defensive philosophy. That was what you brought in, and we've seen it now with one of the best defensive teams under you in the Phoenix. Now, I'm what JJ Redick used to call basketball sickos. There's certain things about the game that I like to break down, and I really get into the nuts and bolts. But I was watching that second half, and I want you to watch some of the clips that I found here from the second half. Defensively, what impresses you most about these kind of clips from guys, not just Ben Air dogging the ball, but what everyone does off the floor in helping each other, the positioning, because it's hard to get a team to buy into this that aren't necessarily doing it at the start of the season the way they do.
Yeah, clearly it's buy-in here. You got everybody connected, like we talk about. You got 5 guys working in unison. Just putting constant pressure on the ball and getting to shooters. Obviously, we want to do a good job on Kendrick. Here, we're funneling the ball, not allowing Kendrick to get to the basket, making him kick the ball out. And then you got guys crashing into the glass. And we talk about when you crash the glass, it's not just the big man's responsibility. You see Foxy getting the traffic rebound, and it's everybody's responsibility to be on the glass.
It seems like the Golden State Warriors back in the day had that death lineup, because you're playing Matt Kenyon a lot more early than what was happening probably middle of the season. Do you have that lineup where you got both small guards, Foxwell and Ben Ayer? You got Malik Lewis out there, even Vodanovic, but then you have one scorer. You have Matt Hurt out there. Do you have like a defensive package?
Yeah, we have guys that are stronger than others on the defensive side of the ball, but I think it's all hands on deck. It's a game-to-game situation. A lot of people will say our team's only 7 or 8-man rotation. I think we have a very deep team, and the longer you go in the season, you need everybody. And you can see that we've played guys like Matt Kenyon more down the stretch, Benny Ayer coming in the last couple games, especially in that do-or-die situation and scoring 17 points, hitting the dagger, and you love to see it. And kind of to get back to what we were just talking about, it's all hands on deck, and it's every man ready to go.
When you say all hands on deck, it almost seems like it's you on deck as well, because as we watch that clip, you may have been in more of a stance than any of the players on the floor. Is there ever been you've coached for a while, is there ever been a time where you've just encroached maybe a little bit too far into the court and you've intercepted a ball or deflected one?
No, but I'm ready to catch the ball if there's a deflection. I've always got I tell my players to play with their hands up and their hands out so they don't get called for fouls, and I kind of sometimes will coach like that on the sideline.
I would love for them to they all wear these trackers on the back. Technology, David, and technology's taken over. And this catapult, they call it. I don't believe they're a show sponsor, so don't say that. They wear these little things on their back. You need to put one on at some point during the season, because I guarantee you, your heart rate and activity would outdo some of the guys playing 20-plus minutes.
Well, we got one of the best sports performance, the head of the sports performance with us, Luke Vella, who runs our department at Phoenix, and maybe I'll talk to Luke and see if he can get me a catapult for the next game.
Well, you're here because you're still in with a chance to win a championship, and you've got to go through what many people regard, we sit here saying, the best team in the competition all year with the Illawarra Hawks. It's been a bit of a break, a longer break for them. What are you most excited about this challenge? And does the regular season success you had over them, does it mean much, or is it completely a clean slate when you go into the postseason?
It means that we know that we can beat them, but in terms of what does it mean, it doesn't mean anything. The playoffs is a whole different animal. We know that. We know going up to Wollongong will be an extreme challenge, and we're really looking forward to it for sure.
Now, Illawarra have had, I believe it's almost the longest stretch without playing a game from the end of the home and away season to the finals. You guys, 21 days. If you give me 21 days to my own accord, I'm probably getting bailed out from somewhere at some point, and history says that is very much true. Would you rather be in the situation you're in where you're battle-tested, a bit of travel, no major injuries, you guys have remained pretty safe throughout it, you've still got a good enough break, but you've had 2 games under the belt, or would you rather just have that entire time off?
I think you can look at it a bunch of different ways. Hopefully, having to play at Perth, getting the Adelaide game under our belt will help us. I would rather not be away from the game for 3 weeks, but you can also say it gives you time if people are injured, if players are injured, gives your guys some rest, and they should be super fresh. So I think there's 2 different ways to look at it.
When the team was first constructed before you got here, it was built, they was talking championship. With all those off-season recruits, Jordy Hunter, Nathan Sobey, Angus Glover, and a few other guys. And then when they got off to that 0-5 start, now it was almost like, well, the season's over kind of much, but they rallied, Sam McKinnon and yourself. So was it still like championship, or was it like, what I'm trying to say is, are you already happy with the success? Now that you're here, do you feel like you're playing with the house money a little bit, or are you like this, no, we serious about winning the championship? Which I know you are, but you know what I mean? It's the psyche. You know what I'm trying to say, Josh?
I'm trying to work it out.
Psyche behind the whole thing.
I know exactly what you're saying. You can say we are playing with house money, but we're in it to win it. I think we've had some really good training sessions the last couple days. Our guys are focused, and yeah, we were happy to advance after the Adelaide win. We were pumped, but then you kind of sweep that underneath the table, and you get ready to go play a tough team and try to put your best foot forward to win a championship.
As much as I'm enjoying what you're doing coaching, what I love is, one, your respect for the media in terms of you do the interviews right before we start games, but also you don't hide things. You're fully transparent. And I say that because you came out in the media during the week and you said, I'm not even hiding it, Derek Walton Jr. is playing. And a lot of people might try and hide that and just wait, you know what, Hawks might not know if he's ready to roll. One, how is he looking? Because I was down at the State Basketball Centre and a couple of the other guys said, man, he's looking really good. And two, what spark is that going to bring? And I don't know if you answered this for him, but three, will he start?
Well, one, Derek has trained the last, 3 or 4 sessions. He's looking good on the floor. He's also a human being and not a robot who hasn't played in 6 or 7 weeks. So we're really looking forward to hopefully getting him out on the floor and playing in this Illawarra series. But we just have to take it day by day. Like I said, he trained today, looked good. And hopefully if he gets through tomorrow and Thursday, he'll play on Friday.
The Michigan guards are tough, man.
I've been saying it for ages, man. Flint, Michigan, my man. Oh, see, that's what happens when you've been on the show too long. He gets it going.
Speaking of tough guards, though, what has managed to probably make his absence not hurt as much has been the emergence. I shouldn't say emergence because we've seen the glimpses, but Angus Glover, but Owen Foxwell in particular. I know we're all high on him. We know what he's capable of. But you also said early on in one of the post-game presses of like, Owen Foxwell is a Josh King type of guy. But we see that now with your energy and the way that he plays. What's impressed you the most about his growth this season? Because I'm sure when you got here to the player he is now, he's jumped massively.
Yeah, just his approach to the game. He's always ready, like a lot of guys on our team. But Foxy, unfortunately, D-Wall getting hurt gave him this opportunity, and he's ran with it. He hasn't shied away from it. It's given him an opportunity to get a lot of experience playing both guard positions, but predominantly at the point guard position. And we're definitely not in this position that we're in if Foxy hasn't played the way he has.
Well, Josh, thank you for joining us. And I'll tell you what, if they say everyone raises about 20%, well, the good players, the greats do. And I think we're going to start putting you into that category. Whatever you're doing on the sidelines, please take it to the next level. I want to see you just go absolutely hell for leather.
That was going to be my last question here before we let you go. You said how many shots of coffee was it last time you were here a day? Does it go up in the playoffs?
Man, I don't count. I have no idea. Yeah, but we'll be ready. Yeah. We'll be ready.
Yeah, I think maybe you switch to the pre-workout to just be a little bit more efficient. Brian Gorgon, that man walks around drinking C4 pre-workout. Did you know that?
I'm not surprised.
He sips that thing by the litre. But anyway, Josh King, thank you for joining us. Good luck against Illawarra, and then even maybe good luck on the next series as well. We'll be back right after the break. Welcome back to NBL Overtime, all thanks to basketball.com.au. And I'll tell you what, it is going to be a big one. Southeast Melbourne taking on the Hawks in the other semi-final. The Hawks, Damon, they've been the benchmark all year. Surely they will not stumble at the final hurdle before the grand final series.
I'm not even remotely surprised because we don't need to go back into the archives. They've been the best team all season. Now, the only thing is, obviously, they got Darius Days finally back healthy. See how he comes out and plays, but home court advantage, playing with all the confidence in the world, and it's unfinished business from last season. You don't underestimate how much that semifinal loss to Melbourne United stung. They wanted that, and sometimes you got to go through the fire before you can come out on the other side. I felt like they went through the fire last season, and now they are primed.
I will say, I almost, if you had to ask me who do I want to win the championship, it's the Illawarra Hawks. But I am worried about the 21-day break that they have had. There's only so many intra-club scrimmages, only so many game intensity practices you could do to simulate something that you cannot 100% simulate, which is an NBL basketball game. Southeast Melbourne have had 2 of them. 21 days, there's a long, long time.
It is a very long time. And it's certainly, and again, they'll never come out and say that they're worried about it, but it's definitely a thought in their minds. But they have a unique advantage over any other team left in the postseason, and that is the Wynn Entertainment Centre. It being a smaller venue, packed out, it's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere where all the fans are basically going to feel like they're on top of the opposition in every single game. That, if you come out slow or you come out flat because you've had a 21-day break, it's going to just pick you up. They've got the best bench left in the competition as well. So they've got a lot of things that are going their way. They have been the team to beat, and I think they're going to be incredibly hard to beat because of their depth.
Would you be scared of a starving dog who hadn't eaten in 21 days?
If it forgot how to eat.
You think all of a sudden this starving dog is going to be like this? Yeah, food will be nice. The more they haven't played, the more they want to play. You guys you media people, you're trying to make this narrative about the team that don't focus over there.
I'm focusing on your fingers.
Don't
Why are you
focus
pointing
over
at
there.
me?
Stay with me. You're trying to make this narrative that's like, well, they haven't played in a long time. It's a disadvantage. It is not a disadvantage. I am the spokesperson, unofficial. No big deal. The longer we wait, they wait. The more you're going to get it when they show up.
History across multiple sports says the starving dog theory doesn't quite apply and they struggle, at least off to a slow start. But I do get what you're saying. Hungry, hungry dogs, hungry, hungry hippos. Let's jump into the key stats to see where both these teams are sitting at the moment, because I'll tell you what, there's nothing really separating them too much right here. You can make a case for both teams. Illawarra clearly the best when it comes to all those sort of things. For the season head-to-head, still not too bad.
Yeah, I look at those stats. There's quite a lot to separate them, actually, now you bring it up, Felix. I'm looking at... I don't know what you're looking at.
I was looking down at the season head-to-head and virtually ignored every statistical category.
The Hawks have been the best. They've been the best team all season long. They had a little bit of that dip, but they figured it all out. And as I said, I've said it all along. Your superstars get you to this position, and now you need your role players and your bench to get up. And I think they've got the strongest bench in the competition. You go in, and again, I mentioned to Josh King, I'm a basketball sicko when it comes to this, but you can get statistics on certain lineups, 3-man lineups, 4-man lineups, 5-man lineups. The Hawks have 5 of the top 7 best 3-man lineups. That's just how many different combinations they've got. And their best one in terms of plus-minus is Dave O'Hickey, Lockie Ulbrich, and Hyung-Jong Lee. None of their starters. So that's just kind of the depth and the weapons they have. And they're going to be tough to beat in the series, especially at home in the Winter Entertainment Centre. But as Josh King said, they have beaten them before. And if Derek Walton Jr. is healthy, it's going to be fun.
It's going to be a hell of a series. With all due respect to the people that put that graph together, don't mean nothing.
Okay, and now
it don't mean nothing. Now, again, yes, it's.
We could have saved so much money with all this stuff that doesn't mean nothing.
They should ask me first.
Graph.
Now, they make stats, and yes, that was all regular season stuff. Both teams know they can beat each other. That's it. Now, how do you show up in your first playoff game? Like, well, it's a different game. For any coach that says it's just another game. No, it's not. This is the postseason. Now we find out, is everybody still as loose as they were back when they had a winning streak? You know what I mean? It's just a different dynamic, different vibe. So I just want to see who's going to come out. I think I know the answer to this. Who's going to come out with the major aggression to start this whole series?
The reason why I think the Phoenix match up well, and we've seen it with the head-to-head this season, I've got some clips from a couple of times they met, especially the last one, is they create space on the floor better. So Geordie Hunt is the best rolling big man in the league, but that's Matt Hurt that Trey Kell's guarding. Look how wide away he has to be. Doesn't really get a bump. Sobey, good little bump of the cutter there. And every time they understand hunting mismatch. So this was Derek Walton Jr. understood the assignment of, you know what, I'm going to try and go at Sam Froling every single time that I can. There was a mismatch on the play before that he got to score, but this one right here as well. So watch this, the little cross screen. Mason Peatling's worried about Matt Hurt. Sobey's got a very quick first step, and he's gone. That's a layup. You got Walton Jr. in the corner. They create space really well against the Hawks. And that, when you get into a track meet, they meet them with speed, is going to help them really be competitive in this series.
Okay, nice clips. Now, Dave O'Hickey, that was a mistake. He let Sobey reject the screen. That's not like Dave O should have sent him to the screen. I hear you. They got to stay on Matt Hurt in that pick and roll kind of situation. That was a defensive breakdown, Pete. Now, if it happens regularly, it's going to be a major problem for them.
Would you say that it would have happened regularly enough if the Phoenix won 2 of the 3 regular season games?
I'm just
I
saying.
picked out the reasons why they'd won those games.
I'm just saying.
What more do you want?
No, just don't be.
You know what?
Don't be making a movie, a narrative, looking like certain things are going to just eventuate because it was a breakdown at the time. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? I'm
on edge, man. It's playoff time. Hawks are in it. I'm on edge.
He's talking about graphs that don't exist.
It might just be me, but I'm starting to detect a hint of bias in your voice towards the Hawks. And it's clouding everything. So just to continue that bias going, the X factors in this one, there's plenty of guys you could choose from either side, but who do you think makes the most difference, preferably off the bench or the secondary lineup?
Go with Damon first.
No,
I've got
go
a
ahead.
couple. Well, I mean, the easy one is Dave O'Hickey. That's the easy option because we saw what he did last year. We saw, and again, the hunger there. But if I have to pick, I'm going to go Hyung-Jong Lee.
Oh.
To be able to come in and be a little bit of a game break, hit a couple of threes, the crowd absolutely love him, his teammates love him. I think he's going to have a really big series. Now, he would classify as an X factor.
He would. Damon, you're on the clock. 30 seconds to respond.
I'm going to go with the first team All-NBL guy, Trey Kell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Trey Kell is the X factor. Now, has Trey Kell
somewhere where it says Trey Kell's an X factor in
ever
here.
played playoff basketball before? Has he ever? Since he's been in Australia, since he's been in the league? No. Trey Kell is the one guy in that team that can turn the whole thing because he can do so much. I need now that first team guy to show up. Now, we've seen a couple games. He got injured, missed one or two, had to guard up to a couple of slow starts. He's the one guy that sometimes can get very casual to start a game. And then in comes Dave O'Hickey. So I'm saying as an X factor, Trey Kell needs to come out and assert himself early because they don't have a matchup for him.
Predictions?
Hawks. I think the Hawks will win. In 3, I think it'll go 3, but the Hawks have been the best team all year.
We don't have a Phoenix X factor?
We don't have time.
We don't? Oh, sorry.
Because we rambled for a while. Your prediction on this one?
All right, Hawks in 3.
Hawks in 3. Okay, so the Southeast are going to sneak one?
Phoenix, Glover is the X factor. It's very
Glover will be the X factor on that. We're going to head to a break and hopefully we return. I'm not too sure. Welcome back to NBL Overtime. Plenty of news happening around the league. It's not just finals action, but there's players getting two-way contracts. They're doing their thing overseas. It's all happening. You can keep all up to date with it on basketball.com.au. You can't possibly mess that up. If you're looking for basketball online, just type basketball into the URL and you're going to find your way there. But let's stick it here. Two-way Taryn. Peter Hooley, they came at you on Twitter. They said, this guy's not an NBA guy. Why are you hyping him up on the broadcast? And I, on my burner accounts, agreed with them and said, well, Peter's an idiot. What's he doing? Unfortunately, for the people on Twitter, he made it.
And you do have multiple burner accounts.
I have so many burner accounts, you wouldn't even know where to start.
It was well-deserved. I mean, you look at what he did. He left college early, only spent 2 years over there, but played exceptionally well. Took a chance, went to Cairns, battled through injuries. It was a tough initiation into pro basketball ranks. And this year, doubled his points almost, even better than that. And the way that he went about it, finished with a 28-point triple-double. I'm excited to see what this next step is, whether he gets a lot of playing time towards the end of this season with Golden State. Who knows? If they've sewn up a playoff spot or whatever, he might get a bit here and there. But the chance to learn alongside from a guy like Steph Curry, do all of that, it's just a small tick on what is going to be a very long a checklist of things that he wants to achieve, but couldn't be prouder.
I stick my chest out, man, when any time in Australia makes the big time. I just love it. All my friends back home and family, I'm always on the phone to them saying, guess what, another one's coming through. Now, Taron Armstrong, congratulations to him and his family. He was snubbed by the captains and coaches at the awards night. Snubbed. And then Derek Rucker snubbed him from his top 15.
Not a double
list.
snub.
Thank God the Golden State Warriors knew what they were looking for. A 6'6" guard, strong, can work a pick and roll, increase three-ball shooting percentage. If he don't stick with the Warriors, he's got a chance. His foot is in the door. It's up to him now, but just couldn't be happier for him.
And the way that Taron plays basketball, he's slow, not slow in an athletic sense, but he's slow. He slows the game down. He's poised. The shot's still got stuff to work on, but that's an easy one to work in, especially when you get in those NBA environments. But you get the feeling, the way he comes off an on-ball screen, that's only going to be better when we talk drops coverage, which is where the big man steps back, when you talk defensive 3 seconds. I strongly believe he's not obviously going to put up the numbers he puts up in the NBL and the NBA, but people are going to be really surprised when this kid gets some burn, how good he can be in those systems.
And you're in a great position being a point guard too. Obviously a bigger point guard, like Josh Giddey, when you're taller than the average size. I don't mean to just look at you when I say that, I apologise. But it's more so the fact that you're going to have the ball in your hands. When you are a young guy on a two-way and say you're an off guard, a shooting guard at 2 or 3, you might not see the ball a couple of possessions down the floor. The G League can be tough when you've got to try and stand out, but when you're the one initiating offense, you get to pull down defensive rebounds, get out and transition, you're going to have the opportunity to showcase the way that you play. And I truly believe that he's set up and it's going to be a really long career over there.
Out of interest, and I'm not sure whether you know the answer to this, how much is a two-way contract worth at this stage of the season?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how it works this stage of the season. Before, for the full year, I think it's $585 USD.
That's like 6 million Australian, right?
Pretty much. So I'm not sure how it works in terms of breaking it down from game by game going from here on out. But again, Golden State look like a whole lot of fun right now as well. What a great place to land.
Great place to land as well. Great coaches, great environment, great culture. That's where you want to be. The Tassie Jack Jumpers have been sold. Finally, we know this was an ongoing process for a while. Larry is always very big. You don't sell something for unders, and it appears that they got a pretty good deal on the team. And the valuation, when you sell it for around that mark, I believe it was in the $30-40 million range, 35 million, that helps the level for every single other club. When they go to the bidding wars, whatever happens, this is great for the league. And I'll tell you what also I reckon's great. They sold it to an investment firm. You know what investment firms do? They invest in things to make money. So if an investment firm is out here saying, hey, an NBL franchise is the thing to buy, that's usually a very, very good sign because these guys don't play with their money.
What were they called? Altor? Altor. Congratulations. You just bought one of the best franchises in Australia. And they've already got the structure there. They've already got the foundation. The culture is already there. You got a lead guy and head coach. You want to keep him. Don't go getting cute trying to make up all kind of stuff on the side. We've seen that happen before with other teams. Just let the basketball people make the decisions. But thank you and welcome to the league.
It's super exciting. I mean, as you said, for the way that you're buying it, you're not buying it to keep Tassie here. You're trying to continue to grow this.
You're saying they're going to move the team?
They continue to sell it out. They're going to make a bigger stadium eventually. They're building a high-performance centre, doing all of that. And it's just an awesome time to be part of NBL basketball. And I'm so proud of myself for completely ignoring you just then.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm worried about. I'm all happy taking on the island of Tasmania when I come at the Jack Jumpers. But the investment firms, well, they got some power behind them. You know, they could end me.
So you're backing off.
I love the Jack Jumpers. I love everything about them. They played fantastic last year. It was injuries, which is why they fell, unfortunately. Chase Buford as well. The Brisbane Bullets, of course, sacking Justin Schuller with a year to go in their contract. If you're going to do that, you better have a big name in store if you're going to make that sort of move. And Chase Buford would be bigger than probably any other name on the open market right now for an NBL team.
Sorry, yeah, Chase Buford is a big fish. Here 2 seasons, 2 championships. Mm-hmm. Brings that kind of that aura. He's got that energy, that excitement about him. Look at his record right there. The only thing I'm looking at that bottom line, 2-time NBL champion. So right now, for him to come to Brisbane, he's got some pieces there already, and I'm sure he can obviously do some recruiting. But one thing you don't want to start getting in the habit of is paying out coaches' contracts. That's just kind of, you're throwing money away. So hopefully somebody like Chase comes out here on a 2 to 3 year deal and he coaches for the entirety of his contract.
Yeah, hopefully they can get it done. I know that he was the leading candidate and he signalled his interest in coming back and especially looking at the Bullets. And interestingly enough, and listening to Bogues was talking about it, about the NBL and the Brisbane Bullets being a sleeping giant in the NBL because even in games where they were getting blown out, the fans continue to rock up. They want to see this success and it's going to start with stability in that head coaching role, getting players continuity and continuing to build it. If it is Chase Buford, I'd love to see him back in the league. I hope it is.
Basketball in Queensland is big and it's only growing as well. You look at the strength of some of these Queensland South, Queensland North teams when it comes to under 18, under 20 national championships. They produce some good players. And when you produce good players, there seems to be a nice correlation with packing the stands of NBL basketball games as well. If Chase Buford isn't the guy there, are there any other names you've heard that are floating around the space?
No, not yet, because again, they were so early in the talks. And we all thought, okay, you're going to part ways with Schuller. You've got to have someone ready to go. It seems like you're doing this because you've got someone there. But I think once they got that signal from Chase Buford and they're starting to go deeper in that and you have a look around, I mean, Trev Gleason's name was thrown up, Modi Mayo, but it seems like Chase is the front runner. What transpires after that, you go through all the steps and figure it out. But it also seems like they want to get this done sooner rather than later in terms of locking in a head coach, because then it comes to recruitment and building towards NBL.
That's the thing. The last thing you want to do is recruit late, and you've got to recruit late, and you're in trouble for the season. But it's time for the trend is your friend. How long is the ball going to bounce for? How long is it going to bounce? Am I going crazy, or is that delayed?
You're going crazy.
It's getting slower every time. But tell you, what I'm about to do, I'm about to perform, I believe the term is sacrilege on this program.
I'm out then.
You won't want to borrow this. Damon, I don't think you want to borrow this either, and I feel sick for what I'm about to do. Put up the graphic. Bryce Cotton's previous games against Melbourne United. Ooh, 5 points, not too pretty. 14 points, a little prettier, but still not the prom queen. And you know the other game? He scored 0. Now, he didn't actually play that game, but for the sake of this argument, it was still 0. You look at this. Shea Illy. He's a very, very good defender, defensive player of the year. What's the saying they say? An immovable object against an unstoppable force? It kind of feels like what's going on here. And I know what actually happens when those two things come together, but all I know is the last time these two teams have played, Bryce Cotton has not been the Bryce Cotton that we know.
So what are you saying?
Yeah.
I don't even want to say it, man.
Spit it out.
I don't even want to say it.
What is the trend? What is the trend and why is it my friend?
We're taking the Bryce Cotton unders. There, I said it. We're taking the Bryce Cotton unders. I don't think he's going to play a great game. I do not think Bryce Cotton is going to play up to the standard of Bryce Cotton in this game.
What's the next segment we got?
What are we doing after this?
It makes me sick to say. I think Shea Ili's going to do a good job defensively and he's going to hold Bryce Cotton to 15 or less.
Ooh.
Deal. We're cutting to a break and I'm going to go wash my mouth out. It's disgusting what I just said. We'll see you soon.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Welcome back to NBL Overtime. All thanks to basketball.com.au. Peter Hawley, Damon Lowry. We love basketball.com.au. You can get all your news there. It's absolutely fantastic. For those who haven't visited yet, open your URLs. Under pressure for this week. Let's crack into it because pressure is a privilege. And when we go into the list of people who are under pressure here, we are not saying this is because you're playing bad. Quite the opposite.
Yes.
We're saying that you are a good enough player or a good enough entity that the pressure now rides on you, Damon.
Well said. Perfect. Yep. So now what?
That is the best intro. What episode is this? That's
That
the
was
best
really
one
good.
you've done all season.
I thought it was pretty decent, so let's crack right into it. Number 5, and you've already referenced them, that they're going to be very, very important. Trey Cowell of the Illawarra Hawks.
My man, first team All-NBL, and the reason why I say this is because he has not played any playoff basketball in his short time here in Australia. Justin Tatum brought him in for this reason. Now it's your time to shine.
I agree. Again, we talk about how good the bench role players have to be. You need your superstars to still do their thing. They're expected to do. That's why they're all NBL first teamers. He needs to have a big series.
Next up, number 4, Nathan Sobey, someone who really turned their season around. At the start, it was almost to the point where, I felt like it was almost we were being mean when we were just judging off the play that he was producing. But right now, key cog.
We've seen at his very best that he can win games for the Phoenix, and we've also seen when he gets a little erratic that he can hurt them. If he finds that middle ground, they're going to have a shot.
I agree. Got to be efficient.
The so-called X factor, which he is not, he's just a great player who is going to live up to expectation, Jack White. Because if he doesn't arrive, I agree with that, maybe not the X factor part, but if he does not arrive in this series, they will not win.
20 and 10.
Exactly
20
right.
and 10.
So you've got to be the aggression. I've got to see the aggression from him.
Bryce Cotton, he came out in the media and he said, same movie, different actors. Now, if you're coming up against Shea Ili, who I think heard that quote, even made reference to it, you're going to want to show him up here. Both of these guys going head-to-head is going to be mouth-watering.
I'm not taking the under, though.
Crazy.
Well, we'll see. We'll return to that one. And most of all, Peter Hawley, this was your one that you requested, the referees, the officials.
Just because we saw it in that Southeast Melbourne Perth game, a whole lot of whistles, then it was let go in the other couple. Let the men play. Let them go at it. Physicality's going to raise up. Emotions will be high. Oh, I'm ready for some playoff basketball.
I think you were getting a little legally excited there.
I'm the same. Refs, it ain't about you.
Okay, well, we're just going to give you a moment to calm down for a bit there, Pete. Thank you for tuning in. The semi-finals not far away. We're going to be back next week, next Tuesday, to wrap it all up. Basketball.com.au.